Alright, everybody. Hey, guess what? I know we weren't here last week, but Ed decided to take a vacation, and the speaker that he lined up did not show up, so we didn't have anything. And, of course, Ed, not being his taciturn self, keeps on trying to interrupt things. So, I guess I better shut up and let Ed...
No. Somebody else interrupting, so finish your speech.
Nobody else can interrupt, Ed. Everybody's muted except you.
Well, it was background noise. I thought you heard what was being yelled at in the background.
Oh.
So, anyhow, I apologize. You finish your opening and I'll shut up.
Alright. Well, the thing is, guys, we got a lot of stuff showing up, a lot of stuff coming around. Ed's working on things to get you completely out of the system. He supposedly has something. I've tried to read it, and it's, with my limited experience in it, I went, brrr, which basically means it's really involved and it takes a lot. But if you do it properly, I'm thinking it might actually do it. I just got to research it a lot more. Also, in case you didn't know, militias, what they call militias, basically it's just men and women who are tired of this extreme one-side liberal we want everything and we want everybody else to pay for it kind of attitude, speaking of like Seattle, or even hell, Portland. There are men and women, not just white or black. Well, actually, there's quite a few blacks, Latinos, and everything. They're getting together and forming groups, basically saying, hey, we're tired of this. You come to our area, that nice terrorist group, and you're going to be screwed. The thing is, there have been reports that policy officers, cops, whatever, is actually joining with them. That they were treated horrible. The policy officers are being treated horrible and everything. So why wouldn't they stand with the group that the extreme whiny side has been trying to divide? You know, they've been trying to divide the cops from the militias or the cops from the populace, period. Now the cops are starting to join up with ones that can actually defend themselves. So think about that, and while you're out there getting your nice little soy latte, looking for a Starbucks, and to be able to drink that crap, because there has been human feces in Starbucks. It's been proven, it's a fact, and yeah, I always said it was shitty coffee. Heck, look at that, I was right. Ed, why don't you take it away after that?
All right, thank you. We would thank everybody for joining us. Last week we apologize for that, but let's get right on the topic here. Now, what we've been putting together is the structure on your birth certificate bond, so that way you guys can start reading it. I'm passing it around, you know. I'm asking everybody to read it. Of course, we got the original treaties that was filed in the congressional records. We have the original congressional records dealing with the treaties or the law of the land. All right, not democracy. No religion has any right in the country, and this goes back to, and that's part of, actually, if you read Dred Scott case, too. That whole case about that structure was giving men and women back their rights, not religion. So, and religion is in the Constitution, but it's a separate matter. We're not talking about that. We're talking about our rights. And see, this stuff what they're doing with this mask stuff and all this coronavirus bullshit, you know, and listening to the doctors. Now, the one thing is Dr. Fauci, the crazy doctor, his wife runs the plant, and including runs the plant for the domestic terrorists who owns Microsoft, Bill Gates. And so all of them are in the same realm. All of them are on the same paycheck. So, I mean, and this is the whole point. People are living in fear because, stupidity prevails. Even in quarantine, stupidity still prevails. So people are not intelligent, they're not educated, they won't even get their ass off the ground to go read and learn. And so when the stuff hits the craziness and, they're caught in the middle, well, things like that will happen. So, and this is the one thing. I'm not going to sit there and comply wearing masks and all this stuff because I have severe lung issues. Breathing carbon monoxide back in, that could kill you. That's even medically proven. So, and you got to remember, you're a carbon unit. So when you want to charge you carbon taxes and all this bullshit, stand up. Start filing the criminal charges. And we're going to start putting the criminal charges. I got to start writing a little more of these up. We're going to start putting them up. We do have a couple of links that other people have done up on the new.org and trackers, and we recommend that you go through it, make your own decisions, because you have to write your decision of your situation of what you have to accomplish. But there's a lot of ideas on our sites and other sites, and, that's the whole point, is proper education. Never do trust any public employee. And remember, church members and ministers and priests and the Pope, they're all government employees. I know. I was a registered church member myself, Reverend Johnston, till the state of Oregon says, "Oh, you separated yourself from the state, so you cannot be a nonprofit." So, and this is the whole point, comprehending what the lawful and legal system is, not what people think it is. So it's interesting, Democrat Russ Presley, is sitting there walking around in a dress, or actually it could be looking like a woman. I don't know if it's a woman with a shaved head or dress, but they're going around yelling and screaming how, pay us what you owe us, and all us Americans. We owe these black people all this money because they came over a ship from Africa that the British brought them over and the Spaniards brought them over. How the hell are we responsible for their demise? The native people are not responsible for people that came to this country. Because you don't have a right coming in this country. I don't have a right coming into your home, so you don't have a right coming in my home unless I allow you. So that is the whole point, is that you got to realize the circumstances that we're living. And all these people, Black Lives Matters and all this stuff. What about the Indians? The Indians were the ones that were slaughtered, the first major slaughter in the excavation of world history. That was way before even Adolf Hitler in Germany. So, when it comes down to it, how come people don't talk the truth? Lying to the children is more important. Raping children for money, just like the police department's doing stuff, is more important. It's going to be really interesting change if the police departments do start standing on the side and stop following orders and kidnapping people and taking them to jail. Now, in the state of Oregon, it just passed an administrative rule that they cannot take you to jail for traffic tickets now. We'll see how that goes. Now, I'm going to be serving that letter that I put out to everybody that most people have got. I'm going to be serving that to the House and Senate here tonight. Seeing that they're basically done with the special session, but they're not. They're going to be in the special session that's not publicized for another 6 days, maybe 7. But this is not publicized. This is what they're going to be doing behind closed doors. So I'll be emailing that letter out to all of them, what I emailed to you about the birth certificate, how to find your Social Security number, how to follow your bank account statements to the way you were born. And also, too, on your birth certificate, look at the gold seal on your birth certificate and look at the banknote. And figure out what town you were born in and find that banknote because you have a sealed banknote on your birth certificate. And that is a banknote. And that's the one thing that people got to realize. This stuff is real. It's not a joke. So, when these things are going on, it's so disturbing. So I want to make sure that people get it. And then they're coming out, well, should U.S. deport illegal immigrants? Hell yes. You know, you got all these Democrats, and all they do is want to rape their Social Security numbers. They're giving these people illegal Social Security numbers for personal financial gain. And this is the sadness that we're truly living in this country. You know, we shouldn't be living through this hell from these terrorists in our country. You know, everybody keeps going, oh, these people have a right to their freedom. They have a right to nothing. They're in our country. You come to our country, you become native, you 5 or more generations over 100 years. And then you might have a right or privilege. But until you have a right or privilege, you have nothing to say in our country. You have nothing to say at all, even including boo-boo. You know, boo-boo does not count for you. So it comes down to the circumstances of all this stuff. What, why, and how. You know, so you got to balance things out. And this is the point that we have to the circumstances. And when I put the stuff up on your utilities, and, you know, how to research your birth certificate, you know, I mean, I get people calling me all the time, can you do this, can you do that? And I'm doing that. I'm doing this. But when it comes to the other point, we have to combine our efforts. And with the new structure, putting together to go after your Social Security information, that is for you to go after your Social Security information. That is your responsibility. You know. So we're providing the information for you. We could probably throw some ideas out. And that's the other point. When we do the talk show, and I'm bringing this up to people, when you have questions, please start asking it at the talk show, and instead of trying to come in afterwards. Because I like to hear it on a talk show, you know. Because I get a lot of emails from people all the time on stuff. You know, because when we're opening this stuff up on the birth certificate, remember, you know, we've been preaching about this since I started this talk show. What is it? We're over 200, almost 300 episodes. And you got a lot of these people saying, oh, the straw man account don't exist. Comprehend what a straw man account is. And do the research on it. And see, I mean, we do explain a lot of things on this show, but I want you folks to do the research, because until you start comprehending it, because I mean, I've had people tell me, well, I'm not going to research that. I don't believe this. I don't believe that. But then they want to sit there and tell you that you're full of doggy shit because they don't want to believe the truth because they're too lazy to research it, or because of their religious beliefs, they won't believe it or research it. You know, and that's the problem that we have. I'm not against religion because I believe in a Creator, Great Spirit, and Mother Earth. I don't believe in religion that came from foreign countries. You know, and that's the problem that we have. I mean, everybody's entitled to their religious belief by the Constitution. Actually, it goes by the treaties. Because you go by the original treaties, that's when that's the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution is the contract with the Indian treaties. And that's the foundation of the Indian treaties of 1770. And don't forget that that was confirmed in 1832 in all the court systems. No, 1831, excuse me. That all the treaties throughout the Supreme Court or the law of the land, that was confirmed in each and every state in that time. 1861. That was see, the Civil War, you got to remember when the South walked out. That's why the Civil War walked out, because when they walked out, we ended up becoming a de facto. And that's part of the Dred Scott case. And people need to really read the Dred Scott case and comprehend what the Dred Scott case is telling you. Because they changed the large C to the small c, and this is the problem we're going through. Because people are not comprehending, are you a citizen, slave? Are you native, free? And that's the point that you have to write in your paperwork. I'm realizing this, that I write in my paperwork, I'm not belligerent. You know, I'm native bloodline. I write the structure of my heritage in it. I don't want to go through the family crest issue, even though a lot of people like to do that, because, see, I mean, if I want to go through the family crest issue, my family crest issue goes back on two sides of the continent. So, or actually, they have two sides of the continent. And so I don't want to do that because I'm not including that because I'm native to the soil. I don't sit there and want to take a family crest of my heritage to confuse it, calling me a sir or a mister Well, that's a surname, and by that, you're giving yourself a surname, and that is technically illegal unless you're elected a public employee or a church member. And that means you're a corporation member. That means you have no rights by law. So, I mean, people don't read the corporation laws. It's like an LLC. You know, people don't realize what an LLC means. And they're going to go through this stuff and incorporate, and they don't even know what they're incorporating. And that's the one thing, as you're native, you don't want to incorporate. But most people don't want to look at the facts of what's going on in the world. They don't want to know the truth because they got this book in front of them that tells them, if I don't go by this administrative rule, you're going to spank me. And everybody's afraid of the boogeyman. Now, John Wick was a hell of a good movie. Well, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, great movies. But the boogeyman is not going to come and get you unless you allow the boogeyman when you give your rights over to the boogeyman. You know, I mean, I'm still fighting the city of Toledo. Everybody knows that. I got more stuff going out to the mayor and stuff. You know, but I mean, that's the whole point, that these people doing this stuff and now trying to get our system back. Now we got Trump putting back the government. And you got all these people, Biden's freaking out, you know, and then Biden's telling everybody, you got to wear a mask, and if you don't wear a mask, you're the criminal. Well, a criminal could only be charged with a crime, and a crime has to be done by personal and property damage. Saying boo-boo or name-calling is not a crime, because your feelings are hurt. Grow up, little baby boy or girl. Be a woman, be a man. And if you don't like it, get the hell out of our country. We don't have the right to feed you, clothe you. You know, this is the one point that people got to get the reality, man. This is a country that our forefathers bled on this soil. I mean, I've had my family bleeding on this soil since 1700s. And on the other side, since 1600s. So my family has bled on this soil from the east to west coast and the Midwest and all around, you know, for several hundred years. So when people sit there and say, you don't have a right because of the Constitution, I have a right because both sides of my family have been in that structure. I've done the research on my bloodline. That's why I say, are you lawful or you're native? That's the first thing when everybody asks me when they're doing their court cases. Are you lawful or you're native? Because you have to know when you go to court you're standing. I mean, I just posted that up on new.org and trackers. Facebook, I just posted that up on the United States for Elected and Public Employees Oversight Committee, Recall Kate Brown, and Civil War 1866. And people need to comprehend what the Civil War of 1866 really is about. But most people don't get this reality. These civil wars and the stuff that we've been fighting on this stuff. You know, if your family bled on this soil, you know what the truth is. And so, I mean, and that's the whole point. You got to realize what the facts and the truth is. So when it comes to bleeding on your soil, you know what the facts is. And so that's the one thing that you got to protect your family and bloodline. You know, and if you don't protect your family and bloodline, it's your fault, nobody else's fault. So, I mean, and that's the one thing that people don't get in their mind. They don't comprehend. They don't get it, you know. So, I mean, it's like, I don't get it, you know. People don't get it, you know. So that's the one point, is that people don't comprehend the law. I mean, so if people don't comprehend the law, it's not our problem. You know, this racism bullshit they're talking about with black and white crap, we're all the same skin color when it comes down to it. There's no racism. Racism is a mental block. It's a challenge. I grew up in San Francisco, California. We didn't play these games when we grew up. You know, black and whites went to school. Chinese went to the same school. Indians went to the same school. Everybody was in the same complex, the same building. All this mental bullshit that they're playing in the media is to fuck you, to mess you up. So if you're allowing this shit to happen in the media to screw yourself up, you know, that's your problem. Because there's no race, color bullshit. Because remember, all these people came from another country to our country. You know, if you're Indian and you're Native, you're the right color on this structure. But all colors are the same thing. There is no skin color. And when they play this game back and forth to screw you up and screw us up, it's bullshit. Because you can't do that. You can't allow these people to do this shit back and forth. Because we're all the same skin color when it comes down to it. Why? Because we all bleed red. What do you bleed when you get cut? Red. So that's the point. People don't get it, do they? So, and then people are going through right now with this coronavirus crap, you know? I mean, how many people have died? Oh, less than 100,000. 300 or 400 million people. All right, less than the common cold, less than pneumonia, less than flu season, less than heart attacks. We are controlling you. Why are they doing this? Does anybody, you know, some of you out there I know really comprehend what I'm getting ready to say. All right, your birth certificate is an insurance bond. We know that under Utility Commission. And we've got that up there, UTI. So, but the point is, the reason why they're doing this is to bleed your counts out, because they're bleeding it to overseas, so that way they're trying to bankrupt this country. That's why Trump said, screw the United Nations. Remember, the United Nations moved into Utah, the country of Utah, the state of Utah. They put in and started putting their United Nations structure in Utah. Right? And everybody's going, oh, well, they're putting all this money in, and we want the money. Money. There ain't no money when it comes down to it. And if you got to sell your soul for a job, that's the problem with you. Because you have no morals, you have no scruples, and you will bow on your knee and have no right to stand up to fight. Because if you don't have rights to stand up to fight, you're just a terrified little boy and girl. That's the problem with what we got going on today. Because nobody stands up. You know, and this is the disturbing part that we're going through this stuff, because we got the coronavirus going on, all right? We have no real evidence on it, and Fucci, whatever his name is, the quack, you know, what really gets to me about the quack on it, and I don't know if we have some of the photos running tonight. I was trying to get them in earlier, but as the producer tells me, get them a week ahead of time, and so I'm really bad about that, and so I'm in, you know, if that's my screw up, it's my screw up, and then next week we'll have to run them next week. But, I mean, you know, things like that happen. But, see, when we're going through this stuff that we're turning against family and friends and all this stuff because of the so-called virus. Oh, by the way, remember your Social Security number is a private number. It is, and people say, get rid of it. All right, get rid of it. That's no big deal. You don't have to be the corporation, but you got to remember, if you actually read the structure of Social Security, that's your birth certificate number. And that's the funding I'm talking about that they're giving away. Because that funding, we're supposed to get the interest and dividends, technically. Because when your water and electricity bill is paid, that's supposed to be public fund or public trust money. And instead, they've been stealing it from the state public employees union funds, have been stealing it, and then they're out there claiming they're bankrupt. I mean, the state of Oregon was claiming 4 years ago that they were bankrupt, the Public Employees Union, and I myself and other people in the state of Oregon system proved they were $6 billion ahead. They lie. They're no different than a cop. They lie. Now, I'm impressed that the cops are going to stand, and it's not Black Lives Matter. The Native Lives Matter more important than anybody else's lives matter. Natives includes all colors, so long as you go back to 1866. Hello, any intelligent people out there? Seriously, are you intelligent or is that stupid? I mean, I know a majority of people are generally stupid because they have no intelligence to think. Because there's no such thing as black, white lives matter, Indian lives. We're all, if you're 1866, your skin color is the same because your family bled on this soil. So let's grow up and stop being men and women. Start being men and women. Quit being little baby girls. Remember, everybody keeps using the word person. Person is an inanimate object. That's a stupid word to use. That shows that, you know, you're a program. You're programmed by the Queen of England, and you'll jump through any hoop. People keep saying the Queen of England and the churches are separate. Bullshit. You know, read the foundation of the contracts and the treaties that were done. But nobody is intelligent enough, apparently, beside a few of us. They're out there actually reading this stuff and comprehending the treaties and contracts, what they signed each other's souls back and forth, and what they did to kill each other, and what they did for the funding. But people don't want to read that stuff because they can't believe it's real, because it is real, because you're living it right now. I mean, and this is the saddest point. So when people start talking about this racism shit that they're talking about, so You know, how come they're not talking about Indian Lives Matter? How come they're not talking about Native men and women, 1866 Lives Matter? Remember, the Dred Scott case actually separated that stuff. And if you actually go through the fine tooth and actually read it, that's when they went from the large C citizen to the small C citizen. They gave you rights back, but then again, if you didn't file for your rights. Oh, that's right. Even Donald Trump came out in one of his speeches and told you, if you don't file for your rights, you don't have your rights. But nobody's actually listening to some of his words. Everybody wants to sort them, but they don't. Everybody's too busy going, oh, yeah, or clapping like seals and orphans, you know. But they're not listening to the man's real words. He's telling the general public what he's suggesting to the general public. Because he's like me or like me. You know, I can't tell you what to do. He can't tell you what to do. He's the president of a corporation that's a fictitious corporation that was created by the Queen of England in her Constitution with the native government. Native, Indian government, original structure, the Indian natives. 1770, start reading your treaties and contracts. Read your Laramie Treaty. Most of all, read that treaty right there, Laramie Treaty. You'll learn a lot, but see, the problem is that people want to argue. They want to fight. And we know that's instinctive. We already had that training because, I grew up in, you know, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You know, and our TV programs were all, you know, already, you know, racist as they were, as everybody's calling everything racist now. And I keep thinking how moronic, and the morons, these people are morons. You have to look at the time of the year. Remember back then when Dean Martin used to do the Dean Martin roast. Everybody drank and smoked on the stage. If you go back in TV history, most people drank on the programs and smoked on the stages. You know, we're talking even, what is that, Tell the Truth, original Tell the Truth and all this stuff. All the actors and natives were smoking and doing all this back then. So it's nothing new. But see, we've got all these crazy people out there. Oh, my feelings are hurt. You know, boo-boo. And who cares? If you can't handle it, don't come out in public. You know, because the public is where we have to live. It's not a boo-boo situation. You know, it's opening your mind up and stepping out of it unless you are mentally retarded. And if you're mentally retarded, that means that we people who are smart enough are supposed to take care of you. You know, step out of the movie, watch the production. How are we supposed to take care of our elders? When they get to a point, we have to take care of them. They took care of us when we grew up. How come we're not doing that? See, that's the saddest part about society right now. And if you comprehend what society means, that's a British terminology going back to, what, the 14th century? See, and when you look at a lot of the stuff that people want to go by, you're going by and giving up your rights because you call yourself free. Why do you pay state and federal income tax? Why do you pay property taxes? You buy a driver's license. You get building permits. I built my house in Toledo. Everybody says I told the city, you know, let's go to court. You know, now they're trying to defend that. No, we never said that, Ed. Yeah. Well, how many times has my house robbed? You know, so, literally, my house has been robbed by the Toledo Police Department. Even the mayors have been involved in it. They know it. You know, even the guy I'm running against, or the guy or girl, Claire Hall, Bill Hall, County Commissioner of Lincoln County, look it up, okay? He's a man acting like a woman or wants to be a woman and a man. I knew his history. I've known the guy for 30 years. I know some other stuff about Commissioner Hall that, you know, people, you know, took trust in talking to me about things, you know, and Commissioner Hall, I get where he's coming from. But see, when you're sitting there going, I have a right to do this because I'm a Democrat in democracy, you're full of shit, Commissioner Hall, because the Indian treaties with the Constitution gives you the right to be a free whatever you want to be so long as you don't do personal property damage. Otherwise, Bill, you're bullshitting everybody, and I don't give a shit. You be what you want, and I hope you're happy. I support what you want to be. And we also support what somebody wants to be. All right? So long as it don't cause personal and property damage. But I don't want to see these guys, you know, people dressed up, you know, men dressed up at libraries and stuff, confusing the general children at mind control. I don't want to have these kids. They already have enough confusion in their life. You know, when you become an 18-year-old man, woman, then that way you can do whatever you want. 25 is when logic starts happening, and 30 is when you start figuring out life. But see, we have to go back to common sense. 18, hey, how many of us remember back at 18? I'm 18, I'm free, I can go do what the hell I want. And then you go out the door and mom says, well, if you ain't home at a certain time, go find another place to live. See? We forget about these things. So where's the respect and honor coming from? So that way where you're at, you have to respect and honor. And that's the one thing that people forget that. You make a mess, you drop something on the floor, wipe it up, clean up after yourself. Help out. I mean, I've done a lot of public meetings over the years. I used to pick up chairs, wipe the tables, do the dishes for the groups and stuff. I even cooked for a lot of them. Okay? People say, well, you shouldn't have done that. You should have charged. Why? That's the point. If we're supposed to be natives, we're supposed to help out. We're not supposed to be into richening ourselves off of fiat dollar, fictitious money. I nailed that with somebody the other day. I was talking to them, and I got trying to get into Title 12. They're trying to tell me what they thought they know, and I said, oh, Title 12, and I started going through a couple of administrative codes, and they're looking at me like, huh? Well, you just told me you thought you knew what you were talking about. Let's pull it up on the internet. Let's go through it. And then they got all nervous and decided to walk away, and it's like, you got a cell phone right there with internet. You can type in what we're talking about. It'll come up. But, people don't like that when you start telling the truth. And it is frustrating when you start telling the truth. So when all these people are out there yelling, that my species matters, my color matters more than your color, folks, come on. All colors matter. When are we going to stop arguing? Because now we've got the structure how to start going after our banknotes. All right, now let's start putting that together. Then this way we'll stop living as slaves. Remember, when they put you in jail, it's called a public account. They bill it off of the strawman accounts, off their birth certificate, off the banknotes. That's how they get paid. All right, so and your water and electricity bill, that's how these people bill your water and their water and electricity bill. And then they say, well, the public's supposed to pay for it. That's right, the public is, so long as that you are elected a public employee, registered church member, and most of all, immigrant if you're working in our country. You have to pay. But see, it's not properly explained to the general public. And then once you become 5 or more generations, you're lawful, you do what you want. Write your property up so that way the kids get it. And if you're an immigrant, start doing that now. If you're a 3rd, 4th generation immigrant, so that way when your kids are 5th generation, you start learning how to set it up so that way you protect your bloodline. Because if you don't protect your bloodline, it's your fault. And I get tired of people that want to whine and blame somebody else for their structure. I watch people all the time, it's his fault, it's her fault, they did this. No, you did it. Look in the mirror because you weren't responsible, you allowed it to happen. It's that simple. Or maybe you wanted to have it and you thought insanity was going to prove another direction. So, and that's the point, who's determined what insanity is? You, me, the dog, the cat? See, and that's the point. Everybody wants to start going through these type of things. They're pointing fingers down. I watch these TV shows where they're arguing about, race and, whose political party. How about, now they're finally talking about, I think it was New York that was talking about on elections. Well, let me tell you something. A senator can only do four-year term. No, it's the senator can do a 4-year term and the House can do a 6-year term. That was written back in 1775, and that was proven in 1780 or 1779 in the first court hearing. The first congressional court, the lawful court, not a legal court. Legal courts didn't come in until after the Civil War. And to clarify this, The deal was, if you actually read those treaties, instead of the British kept on saying, we got stupid people over here, we'll just ship them over in ships, they'll come kill you, and we'll send many ships over. So either we're going to make a treaty, and that's the two treaties that we have. One is with the Roman Catholic Church and the churches, all religions, all gods. It includes all gods in that structure, if you actually read it. Okay, versus the natives, so that was the two treaties we have of 1867. And I know we have that on our website, and that's the one thing I encourage. And I put that in the letter that's out there that I just put out, and all that stuff's out there. And go prove me wrong. I would like to see somebody prove me wrong. It's their congressional records. They wrote it, I quote it. Or I should say, for us on this channel, not so knowledgeable, they wrote it, we quote it. Because we know what we're reading. We know what we're bringing out. We know the circumstances that are being told. So the thing is that we can't live in mystery and this fantasy that people want to live in. You know, and the racism has got to stop. You know, everybody keeps going, racism, racism. Well, when you call somebody a racist, you just told everybody that was in the ear distance that you're the racist because you yelled it. Instead of calling the son of a gun, hey, you're an asshole because of this, that, and the other thing. You use the word racism. Oh, you poor little child. You didn't call the man or woman out for what they did. Not so you got an excuse to throw fire on this fantasy gas station that is created to keep you running after the fiat dollar so that way, oh, you got all these jobs on lines, but there's nothing out there. I mean, everybody's working from home for what? I mean, look at the schools. This is one thing I'm going to tell you before we turn the floor over. I'm so pissed off with the schools. I think all these teachers should be fired. 100% of teachers should be fired. Not one of them need a job. Not one of them has done anything for the kids in the schools. You know, I mean, I haven't heard the teachers going to these kids' homes and bringing them homework. Well, I can't say that. I would say probably some have. But the majority of them don't need a job. You know, they didn't do anything. Oh, we stayed at home. Oh, now they want to do this new system coming up in September that, you know, only 10 kids in a classroom. And they've been trying to push that for the last 20 years. I mean, come on. Don't you know your real history? And then all of a sudden they want to be able to do virtual school. So if there's virtual school, what the hell do we need like a Portland school district? Why do we need 10,000 teachers we only need 500 of them then? Oh, that's right, and we don't need their pensions and jobs. Let them go fight on their birth certificate strawman account, prove they're lawful or native to this country, they have a right to it, not an immigrant. Hey, that's how we solve the financial problem, isn't it? See, we have the solutions, but how many people are willing to stand up for it? And the thing is, it's tough when you got family members or friends that are, immigrants or stuff like that. I mean, I get the conflict. So when are you going to stop fighting each other, get your head out of your ass, and start looking at each other and realize that if we don't save each other, none of us have a right to life? So you want to talk about Black Lives Matter, what about your life mattering? I don't care about your skin color. When I hear people talk about Black Lives Matter, I call them morons, stupid. Oh, I'm calling out a color. I'm calling out night. Night is scary. Remember the boogeyman at night, so and that's the point we're doing right now to the children. The children are so mind-screwed today because of you adults going through this, and I'm not talking about you adults that know what's going on. I'm talking about you adults that live in fear, that you adults so damn stupid that you can't pay attention to reality. You're not listening to your elders. You're not listening to the people around you. You're not sitting there when they ask you to read something to get off your ass and read it. Oh, I don't have time to read it. I got a TV program. I got to go to church. Read the stuff that's provided. Read your straw man account. Read how your bank accounts work. Read how the electricity companies work. Read how your government actually functions and their jobs are supposed to do. I'm watching in Oregon here, they're raising all these taxes. The city of Portland wants to put in a $2 billion tax increase. Now, I'm looking at a solution here. I got a simple solution. You know, I've got to get the paperwork, and I'm going to put it in and file it. I'll guarantee it. How about a conflict of interest statement for each and every elected and public employee and contractor thereof? Remember the word thereof. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look the word thereof means in contract. And this is the point that when it comes down to these things, we need to start producing this because, like the South is saying, and Pelosi is saying, well, we're going to do all this shit because you're stupid dumbasses. Well, they're still right to a point because people ain't standing up to this stuff. You know, it's interesting when I watch Pelosi and these congressmen come out and tell the general public how dumbasses they are. And everybody wants to yell, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You ain't going to do shit. That's the problem with you stupid people. I hate to be rude that way, but you ain't going to do nothing. All you're doing is yelling and screaming. Get off your ass and go do something. Prove it. So with the structure we got put up, and if you want the email, you know, new.Oregon trackers, go into the email, and you'll click the email, and I will make sure that you get the new structure we put up in the birth certificate bond, how to go research, how to go through the bank notes, how to put this stuff up. We've got it basically written up there in chronographic order. We're going to be writing an explanation soon for each paragraph coming down. We were supposed to work on that, but things haven't worked that way here in the last, things have had a couple ruffles in the feathers. So things happen, so we're dealing with it. So, but at least we got the format out there. So we will get the format to you. So that way you have the format, and that's the one thing, so that way you can't sit there and say you don't know. So that's the whole point. We want to make sure that you get this information, and we want to make sure that you're able to research it. And if you have questions, do not be bashful. If we don't know the answers, we'll find the answers. Because that's the whole point about this talk show and working with all of us, is that we all have to work together so that way the future has a future. You know, I don't support, you know, Trump or any of the politicians, even though I'm running for office right now for Lincoln County. Okay, because I know about the de facto situation. That's why I'm running as de facto county commissioner. You know, it's like Donald Trump told you last year, file to own yourself. He said it on ABC and CBS and nobody caught it. So anyhow, let's go ahead and open the floor.
All participants are unmuted.
Anybody with thoughts tonight? Nobody tonight, huh?
Hey, Ed.
Yeah, floor is yours.
Yeah, you said you were going to talk about Maxine Waters trying to make D.C. the 51st state?
Oh, yes. You know, Maxine Waters and others, and thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't touch into that. They're going after making Washington, D.C. the 51st state, and this is under Title 28.3002 under paragraph 214 or 215. They're trying to make it so that way England takes over the United States, the 51st state. And see, that's what we don't want, and we want to break up this corporation. We want Alaska and Hawaii to be free again. We want Alaska to go back to England, and we want the 38 states. We want the 38 states back in our hands. You know, or technically the 48 states. But see, that's the one thing that we want to get it back in our hands, and Trump is actually working on this, and that's the one thing that Trump got to realize why he moved out of New York City, called Washington, D.C., and that is the foundation of the 54th state. And that is the one thing that people got to realize. You want to make sure you call your congressman, your senator, your city congressman, and that's your city mayor, county commissioners, and let them know you don't want them to join us. You know, and if you're smart enough, you put in your letter that you're going to vote against them if they support it. Because if they support it, you're going to have administration rule coming in and dictating to you. Because if you say the word God and you say, fuck you, God, you're going to jail for that. That's what all this bullshit is about, religious control. And people got to wake up, because, I mean, I can sit there and say any word I want about God or anything, and you don't have a right to tell me that because I speak against that book of fictitious. You know, I mean, book was written by man. Administrative rules written by man and women. So, and that's the point. Go ahead. Did you want to add something else on that? Because I didn't want to run off on it if you would like to add something.
No, I was gonna I'm not sure if you wanted to explain to everybody, but about the word emolument. Something you said it was gonna help you with that. Might help if everybody else understood that word too.
Say that again. What was the word?
Emolument. EMOLU.
Hey, I mean, right now I'm not in front of a computer. The producer, do you have that? You might be able to give an explanation to that. Wait for the producer on that for a minute. Because I'm not in front of a computer.
Well, I don't know. Am I in front of the computer? I can't tell. Yeah, I'm in front of the computer. Hold on. It basically is the emolument clause. That's what the emolument clause. It's in the Constitution itself. This is off of Britannica, and I will read it, and you'll have to excuse me with if my speech is a bit slurred, or I've got a speech impediment. I've got a genetic aspect where my teeth are actually falling out, so I've lost quite a few. So, the Emoluments Clause, also called the Foreign Emoluments Clause, is a provision of the U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 9, Paragraph 8, that generally prohibits federal officeholders from receiving any gift, payment, or other thing of value from a foreign state or its rulers, officers, or representatives. And this, what's in the background, is why I don't talk that much. The clause provides that no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, except of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. The Constitution also contains a domestic emoluments clause, Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 7, which prohibits the President from receiving any emolument from the federal government or the states beyond a compensation for his service as chief executive. Anything else on that, Ed, or is that pretty much self-explanatory? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a good ballpark on it. And so that's the one thing that you want to go through on that. And we'll be including that. And I think I'd included it in the letter because I had to add that in the letter. The letter I'm putting out dealing with your birth certificate, utility bonds, and that stuff. And the one thing I am asking people to do is write a letter to your utility company and ask them the manner and the explanation of public utility trust. Okay, and then when you get that letter back, and then you're going to want to write another letter asking the public utility trust on the interest-bearing bonds who claims the finances for them. Okay? Because, see, this is the one thing is, like a friend of mine always says, you got to ask the right questions. You know, if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get any answers. And I do this all the time, and people always come back after me and say, why do you want it? I'm just trying to educate people. I just want to make sure that children are educated. You know, so they can send me, you know, the right facts or bullshit. But then I have to do the research to prove which way, one way or the other. And that's what we're here to do, is to do this because we got to make sure. Because my goal is to have this structure done up here in the next few months, so that way when we go into the mortgage companies and stuff, you can sit there and own your soil. We already know the structure. We already know for a fact when you sign a bank note, you already paid for your property, but then you're agreeing to pay a debt. You're claiming the debt for the bank to pay the debt to the Queen. You know, because they're still going after the land of the Treaty of 1846. Now, in 1846 on the West Coast, that's California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and the north part of Wyoming. Learn to read this stuff. That treaty is the law. It still exists, folks. So that is what we're trying to get through your head, because the Midwest has a treaty with the Queen of England. All right, Florida technically has a treaty with the Spanish monarch. But they sold Florida to the United States Corporation. See, it's all about doing the real research. Quit living on this bullshit that these TV programs are telling you. Because they're not telling you all the facts, because they're only telling you bits and pieces, because these people are on the TV. So how do you think they get paid? They get paid off the interest and dividends. Why do you think Wesley Snipes got nailed on tax fraud? He was paid as an actor by interest and dividends. He could have sat there and beat 60% of that deal. I know, I wrote that back then. I sent it to his publisher and everybody else. You know, because, see, it was interest and dividends. So he had an argument to go back on it. And then that way, if they would have done the argument, they would have wrote it off and walked away. But I mean, everything after that, he would have had to pay on interest and dividends for his movies and shit. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's stepping out, and when you start putting, it's amazing when you put this stuff together. And you start seeing how the pieces to go together. I mean, it's like, you know, what is that movie? Galaxy, I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. I'll think of it. But, you know, and I'll put it out there, but some of the movies, I mean, one of the other good movies that we're actually living today, you know, what is that called? Charlton Heston's movie. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
You're not talking...
No, Human Meat?
Oh, okay. You're talking Soylent Green?
Yep. And people don't realize we got 7 restaurants in the United States right now serving cadaver meat. And they're U.S.C. certified. Okay? And people don't realize that I go to the city. And if I give the mayor and city council enough in their retirement plans and pay for their homes off and everything, I can sit there and take a third of the city over. If I paid everybody in the city's debts and made sure that they were living like kings and queens, they would give me half the city. See, it's all based on contract and fear, and, you know, and that's the point. You know, it's like your public service. That's what gets to me. Oh, the cops are going to go, we're going Black Lives Matters. Well, what gets to me is how come the Indian people that are being murdered and slaughtered even today, most Indians are missing 10 times more than the black people? Do your history, folks. All right, and so this stuff is being brought out in the media.
Point of fact, Ed?
Go ahead.
Effectively, if you really want to look at it and do some research, the elite, as they call themselves, basically do rituals and even blood sacrifices, and their favorite sacrifice, and they will drink and eat of the flesh, but their favorite sacrifice is blonde hair, blue-eyed children, ones that have not been tainted by society yet, aka ones who have ones who are under basically 8 years old.
Yeah, but albino children are the big prize money. See, but people don't step out and see how all the real world works. You know, I mean, you know, I've been fortunate because I've been and seen different things in my lifetime. You know, I've been in places that, you know, certain places I ended up at I shouldn't have been maybe. You know, I've been one of those guys that when I see a guy that was abusing a woman, I knocked him out, whatever, and walk on. I don't want my name in the paper. I've been in shootouts and stabbings and shit. I didn't want my name in the paper. Why? Because I don't give a shit what people tell you. When you do that shit and your name starts getting in the paper more than once, stuff, then you got people looking for you because, oh, you're tough and macho. So that's the one point that you got to realize that people don't get how that works. And so you don't want to be put in that position. You know, you don't want to be put in that position. That's why, you know, when we have honorable elected and public employees, honorable public servants, and remember, doctors are public servants too. You know, public and or private, they are still a public servant because they're still under public trust funds. Because what? They're involved in the birth certificate funding, 1861. See, people don't realize how all this stuff affects, you know, each generation. You know, with the birth certificate, when they put that structure in, and in the Civil War, when they took away and they started putting that structure in, and that structure wasn't put in place until FDR put it in place with Executive Order 2040. And then when it went through Administration Act in 1940, that's when it was implemented in the hospitals. Okay, and I mean, there were still people that were born in stables and stuff like that, and, you know, outside of city limits that didn't get a birth certificate. You know, and I mean, so, I mean, it matters where you're born. It matters who of the organization that issued that stock bond, because it's an insurance stock bond. So that's why it's so apparent to keep your birth certificate. That's why the Toledo Police Department literally robbed my house, broke in my house, stole my birth certificate, all my files out of my home. You know, I mean, I had so many people telling me all this stuff. You know, and it's like, would you back me up in court? I'm not losing my job. I'm not losing my home. I live in a small little hick town. So you can sort of see where you people are at. And I mean, you people, because you won't sit there and defend your neighbor. So that's the problem we're living. You know, we got all this craziness happening around us, but now we got, you know, we're standing up. There is a change happening. And so with the birth certificate out, that's what I've been posting all day today, and I'm going to be posting it all the time. So if you haven't got it, send it to me. I'll send you what I put together, because this information I put together, you know, and you start going through it piece by piece, and you start doing the heritage structure of the Indians with the Constitution Treaty, how the history comes together, and, you know, I mean, it's a hell of amazing how some of our forefathers even set up to protect ourselves so that way we had the fiat income. Because back then, when they put together the birth certificate structure, it was based on the greenback, not this phony fiat money that came in place. Because it was supposed to be still on gold and silver, so that way, on the interest of when the city built and all that stuff, you were supposed to be able to go in and collect it in gold and silver. And now they're doing this, and so we're not even getting our checks. When you get a water bill, that's supposed to, it says a statement. That's supposed to be your statement of your interest that we're supposed to autograph and send back, so that way we get our electricity and water bill technically paid under House Resolution 192. You know, I've done the research on this. I've done it, and they've freaked out. You know? It's like they're telling me, oh, we got an electronic meter on your deal, and I want a wheel-to-reel on my deal, and I'm still fighting my electricity company. You know? And they're trying to tell me that's not a smart meter. It's like, who the hell you think I'm stupid? So, I mean, that's the other thing. I'm going to start going after these people. I've filed all this paperwork in the last couple of years, even in last year. I haven't got responses. I've been ignored, and so now I got to start filing in Washington, D.C. You know, and if nothing happens, but if it does start happening, because I've already seen where things are happening in different areas, I'm glad to see that people are starting to shut down police departments, and people are panicking, we don't want the police department down, who's going to come save us? Get off your ass. Defend yourself. You know, when did you ever learn how to fight? You know, so defend yourself. And if you can't do it fist and cuff, write your statements, claim your statutes, start filing your paperwork. And then once you start knowing your standing in your stationary situation, then your public employees have to do that. And then the other point that people don't comprehend is the militia. You know, your state militia is to protect you, the citizen. Oh, no, not the citizen, the native. These citizens are not to be protected because they're expendable. They have to protect life and liberty. Citizens or corporation members, they are persons. They have no rights to protection. That's the word person. Read the word person sometime. You might learn something when you read the word person. Person means you have no rights. See, this is the one thing. And then they go, oh, they passed us that persons have this right and they have that right. But then when it goes to court, what happens? When you go to court, if you're not a living man or woman, the corpus delicti of Title 18, 3771, you have no rights. It says it in each and every court case. It's even in the Supreme Court Administrative Rules. You know, and that's the one. Read the federal criminal manual. You'll be amazed. Just glance through it. You'll be amazed at what you might learn. But, you know, we have a lot we can learn, and that is the point. We have a lot we can learn. And so that's what we're trying to do here. We're passing on the knowledge, you know, so it is one of those things, and we ask you to pass on the knowledge too. When you get the emails that we send out that you guys request, pass on. We're not bashful, and if you do feel that you would like to throw something our way, most people know how to send a gift card to us. Just send us a gift card. That's the only thing. We're not into, anything else. We just want to keep the website and ourselves going. We got things we'd like to do. So, that's the whole point, You're getting a justification for your actions. You're learning what your actions are. And so that's the whole point. How are we supposed to have a future? We're the future. They keep saying the children's the future. Children don't even have any knowledge or intelligence today. They're so wrapped up in commercialized industry, they don't even have a clue what freedom is. I have to pay my freedom. I have to pay this permit. If I don't pay this permit, I'm going to jail. If I don't pay this, I'm going to jail. Everybody's living in fear. Coronavirus, I'm living in fear. Jesus Christ, shit, everybody in World War II would be ashamed of the people today. World War I, all of our forefathers would be ashamed of us. So, it depends on the way you look at life. So anybody else would like to add anything? Okay, well, if nobody else would like to add anything with that tonight, we'll say with that one, may the Creator bless you. May Mother Earth feed you, clothe you, and look over you. And without Father, none of us have any safety or security. And so I'll let the last word be by the producer.
Word. Therefore,